Hey there, my name is Ray from Ray Life Coaching. Every week, we offer free resources that help clarify what is getting in your way of showing up authentically. Just like today, I'm going to share with you the green flags and the red flags and the dating patterns through the lens of attachment, emotional maturity, and actual tools you can use right away. Let's talk about what happens when someone's attachment system gets activated and how you can respond without losing yourself in the process. The reality is this is about practice. And sometimes you get caught off guard with what's happening with another person. You can't control them, but you can start to learn how to control your responses to things, right? So you probably had a moment where someone pulled away just as things get good or came in way too fast and you feel totally disorientated. Or said all the right things until emotions got real. Today, we're going to name them, give you language for how to respond in certain circumstances, and show you what a secure version of that response might look like. And if you realize, wait, I do some of these things too, don't worry. You're not broken. A large percentage of us do these things too. You're protecting yourself, and that's what they're made for. The good news is that you can retrain yourself into secure attachment, not by pretending to be someone else, but by remembering who you were before the fear got louder and louder. We develop most of these insecure attachment behaviors and beliefs during 0 to 2 years old. And of course, they happen later on during some traumatic event, but really, it's when we are most susceptible, when we're in dire need of our parental or caregivers. Okay, so let's break it down. We're going to start with dismissive avoidant. When they pull away, just as connection starts to turn, it's usually during the honeymoon stage. It's much earlier than the other insecure attachments. They show up really well in the beginning, but then once it gets closer, they want more space. Once there's vulnerability and they really are starting to feel that attachment, desire, and connection need, they avoid it because their biggest need is independence, autonomy, and space. So let me give you a scenario. So you share something really vulnerable. Imagine something that you could share with somebody that's vulnerable. And they respond with distance. They totally shut down. They have a blank face. They don't respond at all. Maybe they change the subject or say something like, I just don't do drama. Sometimes they'll say something very dismissive, right? I need space. I don't want to talk about this right now. They might be really clear about their needs. But again, this is about your needs. So what you might say is first, really positive framing. The point of attachment styles understanding. My confidence toolkit has 7 tools. The first tool is taking inventory. In taking inventory, you're learning about yourself, but in that also you're finding a scenario that really tends to loop for you so that we can concentrate on it for at least 21 days. There might be people involved other than yourself in that scenario. Maybe you're looping about somebody in particular. Maybe you're having issues at work and there are people involved. Knowing your attachment style is key because you want to be compassionate and understand what is coming up for you and why you respond the way you do. But knowing other people's attachment style or getting some clues is really helpful. If you're seeing somebody's response as a dismissive avoidant, that's helpful. You might want to write that down. You can't label people, but you can understand the behavior and the words do help guide you. This might be happening for this person. I understand how I normally respond to this, and that will probably tell you where you land on the attachment styles as well. The scenario where you share something vulnerable and they create distance instantly. It sounds like you're needing space right now and maybe feeling a little overwhelmed or unsure how to respond to what I shared. I want you to know I'm not asking for drama, just honest connection. And for me, when something meaningful comes up for me, I need some form of acknowledgement or check-in later. So if you can't do the acknowledgement now, maybe we can do some check-in later So what it will provide for me is feeling really safe and not left in this limbo. Would you be open to coming back to this tomorrow or after some time to reflect? And then looking for an answer there. This is about your boundaries, right? This gets to that place of now I know what attachment style you are because of the way you responded to vulnerability. Okay, so we're going to talk about strategy. Let them know they don't have to merge with you. That's a big dismissive avoidant worry. They're afraid that their emotions are yours, your emotions are theirs, and that they don't want enmeshment. They actually don't want that at all. But that emotional disappearance isn't connection. In order to create that space from the fear of merging with anybody, they kind of disappear. It's a way of dealing with their emotions by calming them down so they can stuff them down. Neutral isn't disorientating. So give structured space with clear expectations of return. Secure attachment might acknowledge it's okay to need space. Hey, I'm seeing that you might need space. Let's revisit this after dinner or tomorrow, giving guidelines of like, this still needs to be talked about, but I'm okay with you having space. Stay available, not withdrawn. There is a little bit of insecurity in the person receiving this dismissive avoidant response. It's very understandable if you take it personally, like, hey, why aren't you able to do this? But realize like your reaction to those feelings happening inside of you related to their response may actually breed some wish to get back or retaliate. By doing that, you might slide into withdrawing. Stay available, not withdraw. Offer care without losing your own boundaries. That is work you need to do of understanding like, okay, how long can I wait before I go, you know what? This is probably not really working for me because I need somebody who can come back and be like, hey, this is what's happening. Have self-reflection. Take that time you're creating space to actually work through what's happening with you. If you're not doing that work, try to research it. Try to find support to do that. And a lot of dismissive avoidants have this helplessness and hopelessness around their abilities to do that. One of their core beliefs is that I'm defective, I'm bad, I'm unable to do this work. So they just try to ignore it. Now we're going to just move to the opposite insecure attachment style, which is anxious preoccupied attachment. So in this scenario is when they move fast or spiral if you need space and someone's not giving instant reaction that they're hoping to receive. You don't text back for 3 hours and they send question marks or are we okay? They might respond like that, or they say, why didn't you ever reach out first? Do you even care? You might say in return, it sounds like you're feeling unsure right now and maybe needing reassurance or consistency from me. Does that sound true for you? I care about you and I also value connection that includes space and trust. When I don't respond right away, it's usually because I'm tending to something or taking care of myself, not because something's wrong between us. Would it help to agree on what kind of check-in feels good for both of us? And also, I would preface this response, like really providing what is the amount of check-in time. A lot of the time, it is more about consistency for anxious preoccupied. They like to know what's happening or like trust in a rhythm. So ahead of time, you might be like, hey, it's very infrequent that I'm looking at my phone. I don't keep it on. I don't put the volume on it. Most likely, you're going to get a response within a day. If 3 hours is when you're texting me what's happening and feeling, I want you to understand that my timing is way slower and you can trust in. I also want you to feel like you can trust in me. So let's come to some kind of resolution. If that's not good enough for you, Maybe there's something I can do that doesn't feel like I'm overextending my own boundaries. Strategy. Don't shame their need for reassurance. Reassure without rescuing because they're having their own insecure feelings. It's not that anxious, preoccupied aren't looking for reassurance, but they're not wanting rescue. Offer structure. That's really what they want. They love structure. I'll always respond within 24 hours. If I don't, maybe you should worry about me. Like there might be something going on. Or I'm just so flooded. Please give me some compassion, that I'm human. And truthful presence instead of false promises. I'm going to give you an example. I'm polyamorous and I had multiple partners. I have a live-in partner. It was kind of new and I kept giving him promises and saying, I'll be home by this time or at least by this time. I wasn't meeting my promise a lot of the time. And I felt really bad. I would text at the last second or right on the hour. He was expecting me to be home. He was waiting for me. And his response was eventually so good. It was like, what I really need is just to trust that what you say is going to be what actually happens. You don't have to tell me when you're going to be home. If you really don't know when you're going to leave, just say, hey, I'm not sure, but I'll text you when I leave. That's good enough. If we're actually scheduling something, I want to know ahead of time, but we hadn't really scheduled anything. He actually thought I was going to be home at that time. It comes from a place of inconsistency, less structure, and overpromising, using your words, and really honoring as a person who is doing this to be like, oh yeah, I'm sorry, like that. I could see how that could really hurt. Being able to really acknowledge someone's space is helpful, but also knowing that you're human. In my experience, my live-in partner was at first he got really angry, but then he realized like, oh, hang on. I was like, wow, that really helped. Secure attachment might name their own need for breathing room without withdrawing love, meaning like still being there for somebody else's need. Normalize check-in. Hey, I saw your message. I care. Let's catch up tonight. Normalize doing that. Stay calm. No power play. We get into the confidence toolkit more about how that felt sense appears. It's actually part of the third tool, which is called containerize. That power play is where you feel the lines of your boundaries. If you feel that power play, it means that your lines probably have already been crossed. Knowing how to move within that space a little sooner so that you can start behaving in a certain way makes it so that your boundaries aren't crossed because you're doing the work. Okay, so we're going to do number 3, which is the fearful avoidant. It's the one that is disorganized. It's kind of the combo of the two. Their main belief is like, I'm going to be betrayed, but they also have the others like helpless, hopeless, and abandonment. I will be alone or lonely. They have those. So let's choose a scenario when they come close and then suddenly pull away. They have that need for connection. They're able to be more preoccupied in a way, but they're so fearful of that closeness. So there is this line where they start to be more dismissive, avoidant. You start feeling connected and then they ghost or say, this is too much. Or they explode and say, I knew this would fall apart. I'm sensing that something might have shifted for you after you got close. Is that true? Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed or uncertain about what comes next. I care about you and I want to stay connected in a way that feels safe for both of us. For me, it's really important to have some consistency, especially after moments of closeness. Would you be open to naming what's coming up for you, even if it feels messy? I'm not expecting perfection, just presence. This is really hard because what can happen with both dismissive avoidant and fearful avoidance is that there's such a deep shutdown. The nervous system goes into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. When someone's in that space, it's very hard for them to hear anything else than what's happening in their body. And a lot of the time they can't speak, they really can't think clearly. So it's understanding like, I get it. You're in that space. I'm going to give you space. I just want you to know that I'm going to come back. It's understandable that it might be difficult to get a response from them in that moment. Hold space without pressure. Offer invitation instead of ultimatums. I know this is really hard because boundaries sometimes, and this is for fearful avoidance particularly, but boundaries sometimes can be, sometimes we think we're holding our boundaries when we're in the most heightened anger and frustrated state, but we're not. A boundaries about us. When we're doing ultimatums, we're making somebody else responsible for us. If you don't do this, I'm out of here. You may have non-negotiables, but there is a place where you can create space for that person to come in. This is what I've talked about when it comes to the yes to no spectrum and how maybe can be that space of openness. It's really the space of holding your own comfort and understanding how unsafe they may be while they're uncomfortable. Sometimes we confuse the two because we're thinking so much about somebody else when we could be switching that language back to us. That's what's happening when you're in that state of fight, freeze, flee, or you're in the space of others. You're not in the space of you. Okay. So example, sometimes when we get close, it seems like fear comes up. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm asking if we can stay in conversation. It does need to happen at some point in order for this to work for me. And that's really true, right? Maybe you're unsure as to how much time you are willing to, but we can go really slow at this. It doesn't have to happen all at once, to really give that space to the person. Stay consistent even when the other person vacillates, like, wobbly and kind of all stressed out. Offers language like it's okay to feel scared. Let's go slow, but let's not disappear. Keep connection stable, not intense. You may have to lower your internal vibe and deal with your own emotional response in order to slowly back away and give space. Fearful avoidance can get very heightened, or they just cut it off completely and makes it really hard to come back for them. If you recognize yourself in any of these, welcome. These patterns aren't who you are. They're what you learn to stay safe. Becoming securely attached isn't about acting confident. It's about reconnecting with the intuitive, trusting, grounded version of you that's already here inside of you. And that's what the Confidence Toolkit is here to help you uncover. Every week, we give you free tools like the red flags and green flags worksheet in the show notes, support to help you tell the difference between your habits and your intuition, because they can get pretty confusing. Is that my intuition or something I'm just relying upon to deal with my feelings of fear? When you subscribe, you get early access to new offerings, special discounts on events and coaching, and exclusive workshops like our upcoming one on attachment healing through embodiment and emotional practice. So check that out on raylifecoaching.com/workshops. Got something ruminating in you that you don't know how to deal with? Well, you can visit raylifecoaching.com/confidence hotline and we can figure it out together. Want to go deeper in one-to-one journey, and that usually is about 12 to 17 weeks program. You can book it by going to raylifecoaching.com/work-with-me, or you can go to raylifecoaching.com/apply. It'll go straight to the page where you fill out your information so that you can get a free consultation with me to do that one-to-one session. And don't forget to check out upcoming workshops. Like I said, raylifecoaching.com/workshops. And just some final words. You are not your attachment. You are the self beneath it, one that knows when something feels off and wants better. Actually, not just wants better, knows better, is internalized and embodied. We can uncover that. Let's build confidence from the inside out so you can create the kind of connection you don't have to recover from. And I'll see you inside the Confidence Toolkit. Have a great day.